Forget everything you thought you knew about Roman Reigns' reign. We've uncovered the ultimate betrayal and the shocking alliance that will redefine his legacy. This isn't just a rumor, it's the game-changing move that sends shockwaves through the entire WWE universe, and you need to see why. The arena lights dimmed to black, and in that moment of silence, 80,000 fans held their breath. What they were about to witness would shatter everything they thought they knew about loyalty, family, and power in WWE. Roman Reigns stood alone in the ring, his championship gleaming under the spotlight. But the man who had dominated WWE for over 3 years was about to face his greatest betrayal yet. The Bloodline, the very foundation of his empire, was crumbling from within, and the whispers backstage suggested that Roman's next alliance would be so shocking, so unexpected, that it would rewrite the entire landscape of professional wrestling forever. But to understand how we got to this moment of ultimate betrayal, we need to go back to where it all began to fall apart. The cracks in the Bloodline didn't appear overnight. They had been forming slowly, methodically, like fault lines in an earthquake zone, waiting for the right moment to split the earth in two. It was a humid Friday night in Chicago when Solo Sikoa first looked his cousin Roman Reigns in the eye and said the words that would echo through WWE history. "I don't need your permission anymore." The crowd erupted, but not in the way they expected. This wasn't the usual choreographed drama they were accustomed to. This felt real, raw, and dangerous. Solo had been simmering with resentment for months, watching as Roman basked in the glory while he did the dirty work, took the bumps, and received none of the credit. The tension had been building since The Rock's surprise return earlier that year. When Dwayne Johnson stepped back into the WWE universe, he didn't come as the people's champion the fans remembered. He came as the head of the table, the true tribal chief, and suddenly Roman found himself in an impossible position. The man who had acknowledged him, who had given him the blessing to lead the Bloodline, was now questioning his authority. The Rock's presence created a power vacuum that Solo Sikoa was all too eager to fill. What the WWE universe didn't know was that behind the scenes, a different kind of war was brewing. Solo had been quietly recruiting, reaching out to family members who felt overlooked, forgotten, or pushed aside by Roman's meteoric rise. Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, had been watching from the sidelines for years, his incredible talent overshadowed by politics and timing. When Solo approached him with an offer to join a new version of the Bloodline, one that wouldn't bow to Roman's ego, Jacob didn't hesitate. The first public crack appeared during a seemingly routine tag team match. Roman and Solo were facing off against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, a match that should have been a showcase of Bloodline dominance. Instead, it became the moment everything changed. As Roman set up for his signature spear, Solo was supposed to clear the ring of interference. But Solo hesitated. For just a moment, he watched as Seth Rollins positioned himself for a counterattack. The hesitation lasted only seconds, but in those seconds, Roman's spear was reversed into a devastating pedigree, and the tribal chief found himself staring at the arena lights in defeat. After the match, Roman confronted Solo in the locker room. Witnesses later described the conversation as heated but controlled, with Roman demanding an explanation for the miscommunication. Solo's response was chilling in its simplicity. Maybe it wasn't a miscommunication. That night, the original Bloodline died, even though it would take months for the funeral to be complete. The recruitment of Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa marked Solo's first major power play. The Gorillas of Destiny brought legitimacy and international recognition to Solo's vision of a new bloodline. Unlike Roman's version, which had always felt like a family business with Roman as the CEO, Solo's bloodline operated more like a military unit. Tama Tonga was appointed as the right-hand man, a title that had previously belonged to Jey Uso, and the message was clear. This wasn't about family anymore, it was about results. But Roman Reigns didn't become the head of the table by backing down from challenges. As Solo's new bloodline gained momentum, Roman began his own quiet campaign of recruitment. The first person he reached out to surprised everyone: CM Punk. The straight-edge superstar had returned to WWE after a decade-long absence, and his relationship with the company was still fragile. But Roman saw something in Punk that others missed: a shared enemy in Seth Rollins, who had been vocal about his disdain for both men. The conversation between Roman and Punk took place in a dimly lit restaurant in downtown Chicago, far from the prying eyes of WWE cameras and dirt sheet reporters. Roman laid out his proposition with the calculated precision of a chess master. He didn't need Punk to join the Bloodline. He needed Punk to understand that their individual goals aligned. Seth Rollins represented everything they both despised about the current WWE landscape: the corporate-approved rebel, the manufactured authenticity, the safe choice disguised as the dangerous one. Punk listened without interruption as Roman explained his vision. The Bloodline Civil War wasn't just about family drama or championship gold. It was about the soul of WWE itself. Solo's version represented the new generation's hunger for power without respect for tradition. Seth Rollins represented the company's desire for controllable chaos. Roman saw himself as the bridge between the old ways and the new reality, and he needed allies who understood that wrestling was about more than just winning matches. The handshake between Roman Reigns and CM Punk in that Chicago restaurant would later be remembered as the moment that changed everything. But their alliance remained secret for weeks, operating in the shadows while Solo's new Bloodline dominated television screens and pay-per-view events. Meanwhile, Jacob Fatu was making his own mark on the WWE landscape. His debut had been nothing short of spectacular, a display of raw athleticism and controlled violence that reminded longtime fans why the Inoue family had produced so many legendary performers. But Jacob brought something different to the table, a hunger that couldn't be satisfied by simply following orders. He wanted to lead, and Solo's promises of eventual leadership began to ring hollow as weeks turned into months. The first sign of trouble in Solo's new Bloodline came during a backstage segment that was supposed to be routine. Jacob had just finished a dominant victory over a local competitor when Solo approached him with instructions for the following week's show. The conversation, captured by WWE's ever-present cameras, showed a subtle but unmistakable tension. Jacob's responses were shorter, his body language more defensive, and when Solo placed a hand on his shoulder in what was meant to be a gesture of solidarity, Jacob's slight flinch was visible to anyone paying attention. That flinch would prove prophetic. Within 2 weeks, Jacob Fatu had lost the United States Championship to Solo Sikoa in what was billed as a friendly competition to determine the strongest member of the new Bloodline. The match itself was a masterpiece of storytelling, with both men pushing each other to their limits while maintaining the facade of family unity. But when Solo's victory celebration included Tama Tonga attacking Jacob from behind, the facade crumbled completely. The attack on Jacob Fatu sent shockwaves through the WWE universe, but it also sent a message to Roman Reigns. Solo wasn't just building a new bloodline, he was eliminating anyone who might challenge his authority. The lesson wasn't lost on Roman, who realized that his own position was far more precarious than he had imagined. This realization led to one of the most surprising developments in recent WWE history: Roman Reigns reaching out to Jey Uso. The relationship between the cousins had been complicated for years, with Jey struggling to step out of Roman's shadow while remaining loyal to the family. When Roman called Jey with an offer to team up for SummerSlam 2025, the conversation lasted over an hour and covered years of unresolved tension, missed opportunities, and genuine affection. Jey's agreement to partner with Roman wasn't just about wrestling, it was about redemption. Both men had made mistakes, both had let pride and ambition damage their relationship, and both recognized that they were stronger together than apart. The announcement of their partnership for SummerSlam sent the wrestling world into a frenzy of speculation and analysis. But Roman had one more surprise up his sleeve, one that would make the SummerSlam announcement pale in comparison. The mystery partner he had been hinting at for weeks wasn't just another wrestler looking for a career boost. It was someone whose very presence would force WWE to confront its own history and the complex legacy of the Anoa'i family. The rumors started small, whispered conversations in locker rooms and speculative posts on social media. Could it be Jimmy Uso, finally choosing a side in the family civil war? Was The Rock planning another surprise return, this time to support his cousin rather than challenge him? Or was Roman reaching even deeper into the family tree, bringing in someone who had been overlooked by WWE's mainstream success but whose credentials were undeniable? The answer came in the form of a single tweet from Roman's official account, a photo of 2 championship belts with the caption, "Family isn't just about blood. It's about who stands with you when everything falls apart." The image was cryptic enough to fuel endless speculation, but insiders began to piece together the clues. Manu Anoa'i, a cousin who had briefly appeared in WWE years earlier before pursuing success in other promotions, had been spotted at several WWE events in recent months. His presence had been explained as family support, but now it seemed clear that Roman had been laying the groundwork for something much bigger. Manu brought something unique to the table. He was family, but he wasn't burdened by the complicated history that defined Roman's relationships with Jay, Jimmy, and Solo. The recruitment of Manu represented more than just adding another body to Roman's side of the Civil War. It was a statement about the true meaning of the Bloodline legacy. While Solo's version focused on dominance and fear, Roman's new alliance emphasized loyalty, respect, and the kind of brotherhood that transcended individual ambition. But the most shocking development was yet to come. As Roman prepared for what many assumed would be the final battle of the Bloodline Civil War, intelligence reached him about Solo's ultimate plan. The new tribal chief wasn't content with simply defeating Roman. He wanted to erase him from WWE history entirely. Solo had been in discussions with WWE management about a storyline that would see Roman stripped of his legacy, his championships declared illegitimate, and his place in the Anoa'i family tree officially severed. The revelation of Solo's plan forced Roman to make a decision that went against every instinct he had developed over his years as the head of the table. He would have to trust people outside his family, form alliances with former enemies, and risk everything on a strategy that could either restore his position or destroy it completely. This is where CM Punk's role became crucial. Punk's return to WWE had been motivated by unfinished business, but his alliance with Roman gave him something he hadn't expected, a cause worth fighting for. The straight-edge superstar saw in Roman's struggle a reflection of his own battles against corporate politics and manufactured narratives. When Roman explained Solo's plan to erase his legacy, Punk's response was immediate and unequivocal: "Over my dead body." The alliance between Roman Reigns and CM Punk represented more than just 2 superstars joining forces. It was a merger of 2 different philosophies about what WWE should be. Roman represented tradition, family legacy, and the belief that respect must be earned through years of dedication. Punk represented rebellion, authenticity, and the conviction that talent should never be suppressed by politics. Together, they began to plan not just Solo's defeat, but a complete restructuring of WWE's power dynamics. The plan was ambitious, risky, and required perfect timing. They would need to expose Solo's machinations, while simultaneously demonstrating that Roman's leadership was based on more than just family connections. The first phase of their plan involved Jacob Fatu. The Samoan werewolf's expulsion from Solo's bloodline had left him angry, humiliated, and looking for revenge. Roman and Punk approached him not as recruiters, but as fellow victims of Solo's manipulation. The conversation took place in Jacob's hotel room after a house show in Detroit, and it lasted until dawn. Jacob's decision to join Roman's cause wasn't immediate. He had been burned by family politics before, and he wasn't eager to repeat the experience. But Roman's pitch was different from anything he had heard before. This wasn't about joining another version of the Bloodline. It was about creating something entirely new, a faction that valued merit over bloodline, achievement over birthright. The addition of Jacob Fatu to Roman's alliance created a formidable force, but it also raised the stakes considerably. Solo's response was swift and brutal. Within a week, Tama Tonga had attacked Jacob during a backstage interview, sending him to the hospital with a legitimate concussion. The attack was presented as part of the storyline, but insiders knew it was Solo's way of sending a message: defection would not be tolerated. The attack on Jacob forced Roman to accelerate his timeline. The SummerSlam match against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, originally planned as a showcase for the reunited cousins, became something much more significant. It would be the first public demonstration of Roman's new alliance, the debut of a faction that could challenge not just Solo's bloodline, but WWE's entire power structure. The weeks leading up to SummerSlam were filled with subtle hints and carefully orchestrated encounters. Roman and Jay's chemistry in the ring was undeniable, their years of working together evident in every synchronized move and perfectly timed tag. But it was the presence of CM Punk at ringside, ostensibly as a neutral observer, that added an element of unpredictability to every match. Punk's role in the alliance was deliberately ambiguous. He wasn't officially part of Roman's team, but his presence sent a clear message to Solo and anyone else who might be watching. The straight-edge superstar's reputation for chaos and unpredictability made him the perfect wild card in Roman's deck. The psychological warfare between the two sides intensified as SummerSlam approached. Solo's new bloodline began targeting anyone associated with Roman, from ring announcers who showed him too much respect to referees who didn't count fast enough during his matches. The message was clear: neutrality was not an option in this war. Roman's response was more subtle but equally effective. He began reaching out to wrestlers who had been overlooked or mistreated by WWE management, offering them not just opportunities but respect. The recruitment wasn't about building a larger faction. It was about creating a network of allies who understood that the outcome of this civil war would determine the future of WWE itself. The night before SummerSlam, Roman received a phone call that changed everything. The caller was The Rock, and his message was brief but significant. "I was wrong about you, cousin. Show them what a real tribal chief looks like." The endorsement from The Rock wasn't just personal validation. It was official recognition that Roman's claim to leadership was legitimate. But Solo had one final card to play, one that would test Roman's resolve and force him to confront the darkest aspects of his own ambition. On the morning of SummerSlam, news broke that Solo had convinced WWE management to add a stipulation to Roman's match. If Roman lost, he would be stripped of his tribal chief status permanently and banned from using any bloodline-related imagery or music. The stipulation was designed to break Roman psychologically. Everything he had built, every achievement he had earned, would be erased with a single defeat. But instead of intimidating Roman, the stipulation had the opposite effect. It clarified the stakes and eliminated any doubt about what needed to be done. As Roman prepared for what could be his final match as the tribal chief, he reflected on the journey that had brought him to this moment. The young man who had debuted as part of the Shield had evolved into something he never expected. A leader who understood that true power came not from dominance, but from the willingness to sacrifice everything for the people who believed in him. The match itself was a masterpiece of storytelling and athleticism. Roman and Jay's teamwork was flawless, their years of experience evident in every perfectly executed double-team maneuver. Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed brought intensity and power, but they were fighting against more than just two wrestlers. They were fighting against the combined will of everyone who believed that Roman Reigns represented something worth preserving in WWE. The turning point came when Solo Sikoa appeared at ringside, ostensibly to support his allies, but actually to ensure Roman's defeat. His presence should have been the decisive factor, but Roman had prepared for this moment. As Solo moved to interfere, CM Punk emerged from the crowd, not to attack Solo directly, but to neutralize his advantage through sheer presence. The stare-down between Solo and Punk lasted only seconds, but it was long enough for Roman to capitalize on the distraction. His spear on Braun Breaker was devastating, final, and symbolic. As the referee's hand hit the mat for the third time, Roman Reigns had not only won the match, he had proven that his leadership was based on more than just family connections or corporate backing. But the real surprise came after the match, when Roman's mystery partner was finally revealed. Manu Anoa'i's entrance was understated but powerful, his presence immediately recognizing by the WWE Universe as something significant. He didn't need to speak or perform elaborate gestures. His simple acknowledgement of Roman as the true tribal chief was enough to send a message that resonated throughout the arena. The formation of Roman's new alliance represented more than just the resolution of a family feud. It was the birth of a new era in WWE, one where leadership would be earned through respect rather than fear, where family meant more than just shared DNA, and where the true measure of a champion was their willingness to stand up for what they believed in, regardless of the consequences. As Roman stood in the ring, surrounded by Jey Uso, CM Punk, Jacob Fatu, and Manu Anoa'i, the WWE Universe witnessed something they hadn't seen in years. A faction built on mutual respect rather than dominance, on shared values rather than shared genetics. The Bloodline Civil War was over, but the revolution it had sparked was just beginning. Solo Sikoa's defeat marked the end of his brief reign as a would-be tribal chief, but it also marked the beginning of a new chapter in WWE history. The company would never again be able to ignore the power of authentic storytelling, genuine emotion, and the kind of leadership that inspired rather than intimidated. Roman Reigns had entered the Civil War as a champion, fighting to preserve his legacy. He emerged as something far more significant, a leader who had proven that true power came not from the ability to dominate others, but from the courage to stand with them when everything was on the line. The tribal chief had evolved into something even more powerful, a man worthy of the title he had fought so hard to keep. The aftermath of SummerSlam would bring new challenges, new alliances, and new opportunities for storytelling that could captivate the WWE universe for years to come. But on that night, in that moment, Roman Reigns had accomplished something that seemed impossible just months earlier. He had transformed a family civil war into a revolution that would reshape WWE forever. And as the arena lights dimmed and the crowd's cheers echoed through the building, one thing was certain: the reign of Roman Reigns was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning.